Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Garland. Here. Councilman Camella. Councilwoman Coder. Councilwoman Hamilton. Here. Councilwoman Hovland. Councilman Siciliani.
Here.
Councilwoman Viscusi. Councilman Viscusi.
Here.
President Worsner. Here. Mayor Gosher.
Here.
Solicitor McGraw.
And Kelly's welcome. Are there any visitors who wish to speak? If you could step up to the podium, state your name and address, and if you could write it on the register. You have 5 minutes now, and then you also have an additional 2 minutes at the end of the meeting.
Mine's really quick, so I'll just go first. Tom from 600 Maryland. All of you, council members, mayor, employees of the borough have a flyer at your desk. Just wanted to formally invite everybody to the Avalon Bellevue Candidate Forum 2013, which is happening tomorrow evening at what used to be Bellevue Central Methodist Church, Central Methodist Church, newly renovated, and the owner and restoration sale from doors to us to hold this kind of town meeting, exploring the different candidates who are running for office, both in the borough and the school board and Avalon as well. So I just wanted to make sure everybody was publicly aware of it, and all of you invited. We'll see you then.
Thank you. I will add that it is from 6:30 to 8:30.
Yeah. Thank you.
So you saved me a new business.
Another Cody that lives in Bellevue, I'm at 52 South Jackson. I also own Jewelry Store down the street. I'm here because I'm hoping that you will listen to some of the things I have to say regarding the proposed ordinance regarding pawn shops and second-hand buying of primarily gold and precious metals. And the draft that is written asks for a 45-day hold on anything I buy. It's a handcuffing economic problem for business and cash flow to not be able to recover expenses with no ability to sell anything that I bought for 45 days. It just doesn't work. It would effectively make the purpose of this draft much easier for the police because I would have to leave that business of buying gold. I've been doing it for 29 years. Back in the late 70s, when I was not in private jewelry business, I was with the department store. It was the last big overhaul of merchandise in the entire jewelry world. Everything came back. Gold went from $200 an ounce to $800 an ounce. In the last 3 years, it went from about $400 for a long time to almost $2,000. 2 weeks ago, I sold some gold, which I had only held for 15 days. I lost 35% of its value because gold plummeted in 1 day, $140 an ounce. It's a risk I'm willing to take, but not one I want to plan to take for 45 days. The city of Pittsburgh has a 30-day hold. Nowhere else around Bellevue, except for that one, goes by more than 5, which is what I'm currently required to abide by. I keep records, I cooperate with the police, and probably 3 or 4 at most of the merchandise I have returned to customers that was proven stolen. It wasn't even proven stolen. The customer said that was mine. They found it with me. Only 3 or 4 of them came from Bellevue. The rest came from Kilbuck, Ohio Township, McCandless, Ross, Westview, and Avalon. They don't shop their jewelry that they steal in my store. They're not that dumb. They go elsewhere. I have no problem once a week sending a Matt Setner or a sworn designee an electronic copy and picture of what I buy. I have no problem with providing records to the police, asking any one of the officers from any of the communities I've had business dealings with. It's not fair to me competitively to be able to buy on a different level. I would have to reduce my price or come up with a 60-day stash of cash that I can't afford to do today. 15 years ago, a woman came to my store and sold a diamond ring to me. However, it was a diamond ring I sold to her and her husband some years earlier. 2 young kids, a stay-at-home mom, better economic times. She comes to me and says, "Would you take the diamond out of my ring and buy it from me and do not tell my husband? Put a cubic zirconia in it." I held on to that diamond for a year, hoping things got better for them, because she could not tell her husband that they needed an additional $3,000. She just, and I'm being honest here, they no longer live in this town. Had I had this ordinance in place in a small town like Bellevue, one of you pounds would have done that couple. A couple weeks ago, I made one of my largest purchases in a year since gold continued to drop. The woman I grew up with, I had done business with her family, knew her mom and dad for 50 years, gave me a large stash of jewelry that they recovered from their sister's home. I asked them to sign specifically a waiver to let me cash it in right away because gold is so fluctuating right now. I sold half of the stuff that they sold back to me to that family. I recognize every piece. I have a pretty good memory about jewelry, not names and faces, but jewelry I know. They asked me, if they had asked me under this ordinance, to keep it confidential and to keep it with me, knowing that this ordinance might get enacted as is. I would have a hard time knowing which way was right, because I'm their friend and I've known them for 50 years. I'd really like to work with council on drafting this ordinance in a way that's fair to me and good business, and to save me from becoming a more lucrative business, because under this ordinance, I could be a much richer person as a pawn shop. I wouldn't be a pawn shop, because I don't want that business, but it's easier to make money being a pawn shop dealer than it is being a jeweler these days. They at least get fees for the stuff they buy. I don't. I returned jewelry that was sold to me 6 months after I bought it, and I'm not a pawn shop. I've just taken care of a customer. I kept some people from going hungry. And I don't know if it didn't come off grandma's jewelry box, but they buy the jewelry from me for the past 17 years or 20 years or 5. I can't look at them and accuse them of stealing it from grandma. But if Matt has a problem or the police have a problem with somebody, they cannot tell me who not to buy from because there's privacy laws. I don't mind releasing the information to you guys. I think it's right. I think it's right to do it. 10 days at max. The closest municipality to this ordinance is Monrovia. They have a 15-day calendar waiting period. Canonsburg has almost the identical ordinance. It's almost a word-for-word copy of a few additions. 3 years ago. In Google search today, Canonsburg pawn shops and second-hand dealers. 2 jewelry stores came up. I called them both. They're not in Canonsburg. That's a zip code. They're in Peters Township. There's not one jewelry store or second-hand ordinance or second-hand store listed in the yellow pages online in Canonsburg proper. Apparently, the ordinance is shut. They just sent them out. I do not buy too much jewelry from people who have stolen in the Bellevue. Can honestly swear to that. It's not anecdotal. I can prove it to you, but I think it needs time and it needs to be addressed. I don't think this is ready to be passed in its existing form.
Mr. Cody, do you have a copy of the actual ordinance?
I have a copy of the draft you guys gave me.
You have a draft, okay. Could you give those suggestions to, or unless there are only a couple of them, if you could give that information to our borough manager?
I'll retype it in place with form, yeah.
I mean, any way you have it so
Well,
that we
you
can
have
look
it.
at it.
I'll give it to you tomorrow, let's say, you have to schedule for a vote next Tuesday, unless you table it now.
Is that our third reading though? It is our third reading.
I'd like the chief to elaborate on the ordinance and what it's supposed to do for the victims of that. We have the city of Pittsburgh's ordinance actually has 30 days. So the closest one to that ordinance is actually the city of Pittsburgh. And we actually have 6 pawn shops in this community that you would want to call pawn shops.
Does that include me?
Pawn shops, secondhand stores, or jewelry stores.
You're
Yes,
called?
there's 6 of them.
I'm not a pawn shop, though.
Which you buy and sell.
I am a jewelry store who offers a service that's been offered for years. There will be one more suggestion, I'm sorry.
Okay, good.
Mr. Fody and I did talk, and I also talked with Jim from George next door. concerning the precious metals. And in the ordinance, the draft has the two sections under 5 and then a subsection under that for A to include electronic devices, which is not part of the equation here. What Mr. Fode had presented to me seems very logical. If there's photographs taken and a record held of who sold that jewelry, should we need that information, it would be accessible to us. The evidence would be the photograph. If I'm right, the jewelry is almost always melted.
Yeah, I have only kept a dozen pieces in the last 3 years that were worth keeping in the store.
So by the time somebody would report that, chances are pretty good that jewelry's already been melted. An electronic photograph of that jewelry would be our evidence in court. So what Mr. Fode is presenting to us, I think is worth looking at and taking this motion.
What is that, Mr. Fode?
The 10.
Can you talk louder, please?
I'm sorry. He proposed a 10-day with the photographing and the evidence, or the non-sense evidence I'm talking about. The jewelry that's purchased, and then a record of who sold it, so that should that be reported stolen to Mr. Fode or any other jeweler, and we're able to say, this, do you have anything that looks like this, and he pulls out a photograph, and the victim says, yes, that's mine. That becomes our evidence for court, and it stands out just as well as having the jewelry there itself.
Okay, and what about the victims of the potential crime? Is that some of the jewelry that grandma would know that her wedding ring was stolen, and now, 3 days later, it's done now, and they don't have a chance to recover it at all? What happened to the victim?
I agree that that's a side effect too.
Yes.
With what we were talking about too, and I got enlightenment in the jewelry business. I talked to Mr. Fode, and kind of sunk in that the chances are pretty good that no matter where they take it, if we have a 10-day hold, they're going to go out to Midnight Road where it's a 5-day hold, that jewelry's going to be melted regardless. Our chances here, and what I want is to be able to, in other departments, to be able to see that information. The electronic devices, the computers, the cell phones, the GPS devices is at the top of my list. That stuff cannot be traced. What they do is they'll wipe the computer, wipe the device.
And how many days do you have?
I would say we keep 30 days on that.
But you keep 30 days on that, where?
And how much money for jewelry?
Why 30 days?
Because they can't wipe it.
Well, they can't sell it.
They can't sell it.
I just bought a $5,000 piece of equipment that I can't sell for 30 days.
Well, that would go
That's
back to
not
the
part of
pawn.
my business.
Right, that would go back to the pawn shop, Mr. Fode speaking, and they'll charge a fee for holding that on that laptop or the GPS device, where the jewelry is not charged that for the precious metals, where they're just going to resell it and make their money.
Yeah, but working with you with this ordinance, I have discovered a lot of things, and what I have discovered is jewelry stores or pawn shops are buying these for pennies on a dollar. And you see, right, but they put like, if it's $1,000 pair or a ring, $1,000 ring, they may be giving the person $100.
Sure, the pawn shops are going to give them fair market
And then
in most cases.
So, how do we protect a victim, a grandmother that doesn't know that her grandson just stole her ring?
I think
It's
for-
10 days, oh, no, I can't do nothing about
I
it.
think through what Mr. Fode can agree with, that I think Jim would have no problem with, is collecting the evidence for us would be the best step they could take, where they take the picture, they take the ID. Well, like the scrappers, the scrap dealerships, they're forced to take that information, they take a photo ID, and they record that information. And should you have a ladder stolen or something that's, that on that line, then there's a trick. It creates actually become an investigative part of what we do. And having that photograph is important, I think. And it kind of really sunk in when Mr. Fode was talking about how detrimental it would be for a 30-day hold. And I never thought about that when we were drafting this, kind of an oversight on my part.
Well, what I did is that detrimental to the city.
Gina, I can't.
The city of Pittsburgh has a 30-day rule, and it doesn't seem to bother their jewelry stores or secondhand stores or anything.
I think we need
this ordinance was to protect
Sure.
victims and the law enforcement to help the victim of a theft. And
It
not
is.
just a business that is buying and selling.
I agree, and I have the ordinance, but I think what Mr. Fode presented with the photographing is something we did look at when we wrote it. I think it's would be a really good key for us to have that information.
Okay, so what are you proposing, would this be, there would be an exception for jewelers?
I don't know, that would be a legal question. I don't know if we can exempt them as a business. I think we can exempt what they're purchasing, that can recategorize and redefine the items rather than the business.
Well, I think that's a very valid point. You've got to treat all businesses in the municipality in the same way. You might be able to utilize an abbreviated time frame for precious metals, given the fluctuation in the market. I mean, that's a very valid point. And certainly one that is just recently more of a critical issue.
There is another point in section 501 of the Pennsylvania Code. Diamond traders are specifically exempted from this ordinance in the state code. In other words, I sold you a carat diamond and your husband wants to buy you a 2 carat. I'm allowed to take that back from you for whatever value my trade-in is. In your case, it's exactly what you paid for it. As long as you buy something that costs $1 more. Now certainly a 2 carat doesn't qualify for that. But these are exempted under the state ordinance. In this draft, they're not exempted.
No.
It's all encompassing. And that's very hard to make me hold on to a $5,000 diamond ring when I just sold one for $7,000 for whatever reason and not be able to do anything with inventory for 45 days. It's just when I actually knew the party I sold it to and bought back what I already owned.
I'm going to make a suggestion. If we are able to table this evening, certainly we would appreciate your comments. We can take a look at the statute and then confer with the chief. And maybe
Great. I'd love to
rework this.
answer questions.
I think we should go.
I mean, we can table it at the, when we actually vote, which is next week, so.
But if we could have your comments, that would be great.
Additionally, I'd like to, I'll have Thomas lead.
And the chief.
If I may, this is,
Well, wait a minute, you can have your time.
it was on the same,
No, then when we're done, then you can step up.
I apologize.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
Okay. Any other visitors who wish to speak?
I am a visitor in the true sense of the word, and if,
Your name, please.
Jonathan Fode, I'm actually my son. And I know
And you
that,
know what, please just write it down. Oh, okay. Okay, hold on a second.
before I go further,
I think it's in your notes.
You know, he has a piece of paper. Okay.
just so I will go further,
I apologize if there was no paper, so.
No, I stole it. It's okay.
Oh, you stole it, oh.
I'm not a resident.
Chief, take care of it, please. For stealing paper. Good.
I'm not a resident of Bellevue, so that precludes me from speaking here. I just want to get that.
Well, if you could just.
It does, okay. And before I make my comments, I need to let you know that while I work at the District Attorney's Office of Allegheny County, I'm in no way here representing that office. I'm here because I do have a unique position in that I'm familiar with pawn shops, I'm familiar with criminals, I'm familiar with victims, especially as my job is protecting victims. I've been with the office since 2008, and during that time I've handled literally thousands of criminal cases. I currently work in the Office of Investigations in Dormont. We handle long-term investigations, but prior to that, I worked in the General Trial Unit, where I'd say 20% of my cases, at least 25 were thefts, half of those at least involve pawn shops. The cooperation that we get from pawn shops in the vast majority of cases is nil. Nobody cooperates. They sell as quick as they can. They don't report. They don't show up for court. Thieves go to what I would say are people that they think are like them, people that just want to turn a quick buck. Unfortunately, there's too many of them in this county, and even outside of this county. They're going to go to the guy that says, yeah, bring it in here, and like you said, pennies on the dollar, and get out the door. The reporting is lax, the cameras are always broken. While I know miss. Rebecca Sear is the lead detective who works with the burglary pawn unit in the city, and she reaches out to those good businesses that say, yeah, I'll let you know when something comes in here that just isn't meant. So when grandma doesn't know it's stolen, my dad might. And he's calling the chief, and the chief is going to send somebody down there to look at it. And now you match up a property, or a stolen property report, or even if it doesn't, at least they can say, set that aside. You have an ally in Bellevue Jewelers, but you might not in the pawn shop that is just across the border that has the 5-day hold. They might steal it here. What's to stop them from driving across the border? They don't care where it's sold. They'll take $20 rather than go to my dad's store. He's going to say, look, there's a 45-day hold. I don't deal with this anymore. So take your business elsewhere. So that jewelry that we wanted to recover is now gone. The reality is that they're going to sell it as a Craigslist or in a pawn shop that doesn't care. My suggestion is that you're going to have the thefts. There are going to be, drug addicts, grandsons, and granddaughters that want to steal grandma's jewelry. It's going to happen. The best way to stop it is to catch it. I mean, you guys have an excellent police department. Honestly, I'm working here for 5 years with all the police departments. Bellevue does a wonderful job, a really, really good job, and they would really appreciate having somebody that actually is like a watchdog. So before you think that a 45-day ordinance is just going to help the victim, actually, in my opinion, could really hurt that victim. So those are my comments. I'll take any questions if you have them. But
How would it hurt the victim?
how would it hurt?
Yeah, how would 45-day hurt a grandma that didn't know that was stolen until the 31st day of the 4th day? And I go to one of the businesses in Bellevue and say, okay, I know my grandson was in here, and
Because he turned them away. Because the grandson that came in with a pile of gold that says, I'm going to sell it here, Mr. Fody. Mr. Fody now says, you can't sell it here, and he took it off to Midnight Road, where he took it down to it's under 5-day gold.
but Bellevue can't legislate Midnight Road. We can only help the victims that come from this community, this town. We can only help those people here.
I understand.
Like the city of Pittsburgh did. So the city of Pittsburgh should not place any ordinance whatsoever in their city. They're telling me right now that the city of Pittsburgh's ordinance is absolutely useless, and everybody needs to go to Northfield to sell this stuff.
Well,
I
I think that would be a misinterpretation of what I said, but I do think that the 45-day hold is going to push the criminal and the stolen merchandise out of Bellevue. Say it's stolen Bellevue, it's going to push it out of Bellevue, whereas now we have this cured, we have it documented, we have the person who sold it. That's enough there for the police department to actually start a case. If it's moved, that can be melted down and gone. So your resident, I'm not saying that the city of Pittsburgh is their ordinance is useless, don't get me wrong, but they are dealing with a much larger situation, something that cannot be monitored, and it's so many fly-by, seat of their pants pawn shops that show up one day and are gone the next.
Yeah.
They can't monitor.
well, there's 6 of them, like I said, in Bellevue. So, I mean, the voties may be the reputable one, but what about the others?
My suggestion there, class one, I will move on. I would, the people that do not follow the regulations, the 10-day hold and the reporting of the documentation, the people that are trying to skirt by and get around that, that's what we have to enforce with the fines. And where it hurts, I mean, actually penalize these pawn shops that don't follow the rules. Then you'll clean out the ones that aren't following it. Keep it at a smaller timetable, but penalize the ones that aren't following that.
And I think we can come to something that will be good for both our businesses and for our residents. As a victim of a burglary myself, just 3 years ago, my stuff was stolen, gold, and forget it. We can try to come to something that will be good for both our residents and our businesses. So thank you, we appreciate that.
Thank you.
Are there any other visitors who wish to speak?
I'm Beth Rojas, I live at 677 Shade Avenue. I want to ask you to know or table matter on ordinances 1308, International Communications Code of 2012.
Could you speak a little louder, please? Is that even working? It's not working, so if you could just...
Okay, and the ordinance 1306, International Fire Code of 2012.
Yes.
As I make a couple adjustments. I read the ordinances and looked at the drafts provided to me downstairs. I'm pleased that all the officials recognize that there are sections in conflict with the Constitution as addressed in Section 6 of the drafts. The current language for Section 6 is very vague, and it really doesn't exact constitution? Is it the United Nations Constitution? Is it the Pennsylvania Constitution? Is it the Pennsylvania, the USA Constitution? What constitution is it in conflict with? The codes? Or is it just Bellevue's Constitution? I see it as a major conflict with the Fourth Amendment due process clause of the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution. I would advise that the Bellevue Council and attorney create an amendment that spells out a specific legal sequence of steps and procedures for the building inspector to gain reasonable entry into your property with the appropriate consequences for non-compliance. The biggest part of the amendment in the codes that I object to is 104.3, the rights to entry. It's the same language as the 2009 adopted version, but I think it really leaves room for a lease structure. I think it would be wiser to have a clear written procedure and timeline for residents and borough inspectors to refer to when inspections need to take place. Why would you want to allow such ambiguity in the language to stand? You could save Bellevue Borough potential future legal costs and fees by having a clear set of reasonable entry procedures in place and published and written down. There was a house on North Sprague that was raided by police and a few other high-profile agencies for drugs and prostitution. And it wasn't one of the Bellevue officers, it was one of the other officers. I had asked him what was going on. He said, "We could thank your building inspector for this one. He helped get the right of way." And it kind of seems like this statement was true, but the first skew of justice. Everyone is entitled to their due process and warrant. Because that's the way they gain entry. I haven't heard the story, but there was just a statement in passing. So that kind of resonated with me when I saw the 104.3 rights to entry. It's very vague language in there of the actual building code and the maintenance codes. It kind of says reasonable time. There's no fixed outline of what's reasonable. It needs to be written down for everyone to know the standard, and so no one's rights are trampled on. So I would ask you to please protect the process, specify in Section 6 is the United States Constitution, and revoke and identify all other non-constitutional sections of the proposed international ordinance. Create, publish, and include a clear legal written procedure for the building inspectors, reasonable entry to the property, and the penalties for non-compliance should be clearly defined for the resident. And I hope you would vote no or amend this before it goes to the vote. Section 6 and those sections of the code. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. One thing you were talking both the International Fire Code and the Property Maintenance Code. Okay. Let me tell you this: we already have them in place.
Right.
2009. We're just updated to 2012. They are used by the majority of municipalities in the United States. It's not that we come up with these particular codes. This is something that's used in the United States, and we're just adopting something that has been going on for a long time. As for the Property Maintenance Code, this replaces the old BOFA codes.
Yeah, I read the 2009.
And for someone to actually gain right of entry, it really has to be under extreme conditions. There is a process that our code enforcement officer would have to take.
I was just asking, is that process written down and clearly added?
It's actually in the code.
Because
The process is in the code.
in the book, the process in the book, the actual 2012 book, is not clearly defined. It just says refer to local laws. It's not actually in the addendum to the draft. I'm asking it to clearly define in the addendum to the draft the written procedure for him to gain entry into a home and what the non-compliance penalties are for a resident. If I don't comply,
Okay,
48 hours.
Okay,
you
you're past 5 minutes, so I'm just
sorry.
answering you. But I will definitely have that checked into. We are, the International Fire Code. I just want people to know that this does not apply to 1- and 2-family homes. This is for 3 units and above. And this is something that is used by Ross and McCandless and other municipalities around us. So it's not just a Bellevue code situation.
I understand that.
Okay, I'm just answering your question.
A clarification of terms in your new draft. You refer to a constitution as whose constitution? Are you referring to in section 6? I'm just asking for a very specific clarification.
Well, that there, I've already answered your question, that I will check with the code enforcement officer and our solicitor to look into that particular section. Thank you, we appreciate that. But my answer to people is that it's not, this is a code that's used by the majority of municipalities in the United States. And all we're doing is updating from 2009 to the 2012, and we will definitely look at that. Thank you, I appreciate that. Any other visitors who wish to speak? Okay, no other visitors wish to speak. Thank you for coming this evening. The prior meeting minutes. Are there any questions or comments concerning the meeting minutes? Oh, I want to ask, on the International Fire Code, we have it in the meeting minutes that we did a second reading, but we don't have it in our agenda. So if it could be added to, am I right on that? That we need to add that on as a third reading for the 14th. The International Fire Code. And then the metered parking ordinance I saw in the minutes that we were in the second reading. If you could add that to the agenda for the 14th.
That is the parking ordinance.
Yeah, it's being reduced to $25 for the fine. And then that was the only questions that I had. No other questions? Any questions or comments concerning the bill list? Reports are, I'm sorry, Mayor?
Yes, reports. So my name's on this, but I want to let you know.
Say that again, I can't hear you.
On the reports, there's nothing there for the mayor, but I do have something that to go for everybody else.
If you would like, please.
What I have here is a proclamation of the mayor of Bellevue, Borough of Bellevue for Tony Barbarino during his 16 years as part of the Bellevue Borough Public Works Department and for his outstanding efforts during his tenure as the Public Works Supervisor. Whereas during his years of service in Bellevue, it's Anthony J., but it's Tony Barbarino, worked hard to improve the surroundings of his hometown community. Therefore, be it proclaimed that I once again extend my sincere thanks and gratitude to Tony Barbarino for his many years of service to the Borough of Bellevue. Not only that, as an employee, he did what was expected of him more, but as a community member, he's involved in midget football, he's involved in the wrestling programs, he's involved in his community. And I just want to make sure that we recognize him importantly. Tony, please go.
Thank you, Mayor. The treasurer is not here. Administration?
I provided to council a written report in their packets this month. As well, you will have noticed that your resolutions for the whole staff and the public works summer staff were empty because we had not yet performed any of the interviews. So on your tables this evening, you will find those completed resolutions. As well, I was contacted by Senator Toomey's office for the howitzer, and they had suggested if the cannon was unavailable, that the borough become a little bit more that okay to accept a piece of equipment? Or does everybody want to key in it?
What are the options?
The options are endless. How the donation program works is that they'll approach you when there's something available, they'll let you know what it is, and then at that point you can take the donation or not.
What's the time frame on candy?
When they don't have a time frame, you can't give that because it's essentially when one becomes available. I think that's part of the reason why this process has taken so long. It's when it becomes available, it's available. And if you can't get it to the site, then that's what the challenges are.
What Jim has, Jim?
Yeah, who was the person that contacted Senator Kennedy?
Well, it was a combination of efforts. The mayor contacted Senator Toomey. I contacted the rep that has an office up here, and through all those efforts, we've been getting communication back and forth.
The reason I'm asking, I'd like to personally thank George, thank you for your efforts, and anybody else who was involved. At one time, they had offered a tank instead of a howitzer or 2 machine guns, and maybe we can put this right now, give it to back to Parks and Rec and make a recommendation to council.
Lynn, you have a comment?
Well, I was just going to say, Canada was secured by Congressman Doyle's office. The problem is the borough has to pick it up. They don't deliver it for you, and that's where the confusion came. There is one available for Bellevue, but there has to be arrangements for it to be picked up.
There are arrangements. The office, the clerk office in St. Louis building has provided in-kind donation to have it picked up. So we have a way to transport it, and I did relay that back to the Army's donations department, and they said because of how the program works, it wasn't available anymore, but there might be another option. So we do have transportation still supported.
What had happened with the original, the woman who was in the military that was handling the shooting tires, and then someone else stepped in, and someone else actually stepped in, and got lost in the show.
So I should take that back to the first recreation.
That's all I have. Is that okay with everyone else?
I think I'd like to suggest something else, that the efforts of George and whoever else was there, like some input from George along with that, whatever we bring in, whether it's machine guns or tank or another piece of equipment. Since he spent so much time and effort on it, I just want to say what counts.
Okay, so we're going to take that back to committee. Before I forget this, because I have it written down, there will be an executive session at the end of the meeting for personnel issues.
Do we need to announce when we have
We also had an executive session yesterday evening. We met with a prospective candidate for the Borough Manager, or Department of Administration, a DAS position. So thank you for reminding me. Okay, engineer, John?
It's been a busy month. There's a couple motions on the agenda for discussion, and I'd like to probably bring those to the forefront so we can discuss them now and that we can dispense with them later. With respect to the sewer project, just to let you know that the low bid, the parent low bidder, had withdrawn his bid because he made a mistake on his bid, and after going through the contract, it was a legitimate mistake. He followed the procedures and withdrew his bid, and we are making the recommendation that that be entertained by the borough, and that the second low bidder be awarded the contract.
And how much was the second low bidder? What was the one? What's the difference?
About $40,000.
Oh.
Just shy of $40,000.
I will
will say that I spoke with John about this in the past week, and the lowest bidder, who was low by $40,000, omitted a piece of the project. So we are better off allowing him to withdraw.
So that was probably not the most exciting thing that happened, but one of them. The other issue is that we are going to recommend that the paving project be awarded as well. We got some decent bids on that one, so that'll be a discussion item for today with respect to options or alternates that you want to consider. There's 4 different options that you might consider. All combined, are still below the budget that's available. So again, if you're inclined to award everything, please keep it below that budget amount, and certainly that's our recommendation, we need to get as much as we can for the amount that's bid. But you have options to consider there.
Okay, and do we have copies of those options?
Yes,
They're in the packet?
there should be in the packet.
Okay.
Next, with respect to the pool roof project, Tony and I met with the contractor today for a pre-construction meeting, and with respect to that work, that should be done before the 24th of May. He should be delivering stuff on site next week, and barring any more rainy weather or bad weather, that should take about 4 or 5 days. So that will be between the next 2 weeks. Sometime the 17th or 18th, that will be started. Finally, the skate plaza concrete will be starting the 13th. We should be here next Monday, setting up their forms, and we should have concrete placed out. After that, it will be a matter of all the works department getting there, grading out the area, making sure everything is at grade.
And are they going to secure it so that no one goes in there and starts carving names? And
we're going to try to do the same thing that we did last time on the first phase, where somebody sits on it for a little while, but I can't guarantee that that will occur. But the concrete that they're using is a higher release strength concrete. Nobody carved their names in it last time, so we're hoping that we have the same result this time. But we'll try to do what we can. Depending on when they place it, we may have people there for 7 or 8 hours after placing it, and we'll try to keep it.
should we close the skate plaza so that no one tries to skate on
I
it?
would think yes, that would be a good idea. When they come in and finally place that concrete, it would be a good idea to close it for at least 24 hours. And again, with respect to the skate plaza in Bain Park, we are in the process of finalizing the changes to the DCNR grant scope of work. And sometime either before or at the committee meetings on the 28th, I guess I'd like to talk to the public works people to find out what additional items they want to put in there, as far as where the rain garden would go, let you know what changes there are from the initial scope. We need to put in handicap ramps. Even though it is a skate park, we have to have it accessible to the public. And so I'll pull a list of scope changes available, get that to the committee for consideration, and then we can go over that. We have another 1.5 years to get that work done, which is more than enough time, but I'd like to start that process sooner than later, so that everybody who's involved can have their input.
So you'll be at the Public Works Committee?
Correct.
This month?
Yes. Okay. And really, that's about it, unless you have any other questions for me.
Any questions for you?
Yes, I do. I have a hard time with my voice, I'm sorry. Regarding the paving, can I ask that now? Okay. So, we talked a little bit about Public Works, and I brought this up at the end of the meeting, that I was going to ask these questions again, so bear with me, there's several. My concern is the Memorial Park parking lot and that road. So we're probably going to get the road done, my understanding is. Right, but the thing about it is I just found out that maybe we can't get that done until the end of the season. And I'm wondering if there's a way to schedule that at night or just close the pool for a day or something like that. Make a shift that we can make it work because it needs it.
With respect to that, we did not specify when that portion of the work would need to be done in the contract. wanted to, I'm sure that he would accommodate the borough, or whoever the contractor is, would accommodate the borough to get that done, because it would benefit him to get it done when there's less people there as well.
Right.
So we need to award it first, have our pre-construction meeting, bring that up and get that scheduled, so that everybody's happy with what we're going to do on that. That would be my suggestion. Instead of awarding it, and then we can deal with that scheduling issue later.
Okay, thank you, that's good. I have several questions. The other one is, do you think it's really within reason to think that we would get money for the parking lot in a grant form? In other words, paving isn't usually part of a grant, receiving a grant?
Well, I tell you what, you never know what you're going to get unless you apply for it.
Right.
And there are, there's CDBG money out there, there's DCNR money. You have to keep applying for those things that you want funded and make sure that what your scope of work fits that application. So I'm not going to rule out that there's not grant money out there to do the parking lot, but you need to apply for it. And right now, I don't think that that's something that has been applied for.
Right. I know we have to do it again, but my reason for this is that the parking lot, as you know, probably is in such terrible condition that we say, okay, we have roads that we have to do, but for example, like West Avenue in front of Suburban General, Raleigh General, is not as bad that it could wait another year. I'm just using it as an example. I'm wondering if there's some way we could get that done, because we might say, okay, the roads are traveled more, but that parking lot's traveled a lot by all those people, and not only that, it's a real safety hazard because people are stepping out onto that deteriorated.
We had a brief discussion about that this afternoon, or this morning up there, and my preference would be to see that parking lot configured just a little bit differently before we go ahead and get it on a paving schedule. There's other issues there than paving that need to be addressed. I won't go into that.
So it's a bigger deal.
It's bigger than just paving it, yes. In my opinion, again, the input from the Public Works Committee, from Parks and Rec would probably be welcome, but I think we need to talk, I think we need to have that discussion before we go ahead and just say, let's add it to this contract and get it paid. There's base repair that needs to be done, that middle of the parking lot. I mean, you might want to put up ballers and parking and some more of those wheel stops, put in some walkways, or even go around and pave that bottom gravel parking area. So I think you want to talk about the parking lot as a separate issue. At some point, maybe there will, but maybe there will be available some money from this contract to do a little bit more than just up to where we intend to stop. I don't know yet because all the quantities haven't been figured in and started. So keep that thought. I think as we get through the season, whenever this is scheduled, maybe we can go a little further.
Well, so my last question to you, after what you said, is should we hold back maybe on a project that we might not have to do and save some of that money towards the end of the season? That we have to discuss.
That's up to committee or council. That's right now we have a contract, we have the options, we have the price. Whatever you want to do, that's between council.
Okay. Any other questions for Sean? Thank you so much. Library, Denise? You didn't know you were on, did you?
I didn't.
We do have a report from you, so.
Yes, everything's in the report.
Okay.
Fully informed.
Any questions for Denise?
I have, during the time we went through all that work with the project, and there was this big delay. So the big delay, I just want to tell you the good news, I guess. The delay was caused by a company that actually ended up going out of business and was the manufacturer, so another one replaced it. Now we have it. All we have to do, one of the issues was, so you're clear, is pediments were perfectly identical except there was a radius missing because everyone said they wanted to have it exactly. I kept questioning that but not getting an answer how we were going to get it fixed because apparently that company was deteriorating. So now the new company that's the distributor we'll buy these from has been doing it for years, but they're going to take over. And what we have to do is take one off, give it to them, they'll duplicate it and then duplicate all the others. So we have to arrange with someone to get it, and that's it. Now we're ready to go. So it's ready to be ordered if we can take one.
No price differentials?
It could, for the radius, I'd have to show you the picture, I'd have to see a picture, but there's a little radius at the corner of each top, and that may add a tiny bit to it. If not, they said if any, but to try to keep it the same. And if it did, and you don't want to go that route, then you just get this square, and it doesn't look that much different, to be honest. So we're going to give you that option.
Okay, good news.
So fine.
Good news. And then I want to ask about the water fountain. I saw that in the minutes. Where is the water fountain going to be installed?
If you know what a copy machine is?
I do.
It's between the office door and the copy machine. Kind of behind the stationery tub, which we use for the thing.
I'm sorry, say that again.
It's behind the stationery tub, which we use for the sink in the library.
Well, the fountain is going to be out where the copier is.
Right.
Okay? And then what's back in the...
On the other side of the wall is the stationery tub, so there's plumbing.
Oh, the plumbing, okay, that's why it's placed there.
Right.
Okay. Where's the copy machine?
Same place, just a little scrunched over.
Okay. I think that's such a good idea. Whoever's idea that was, that's great. Yeah. There.
I'm not sure if my memory is a record off that I was mentioning to her earlier. It may not be an issue, but I recall having a water fountain there in the past, and it was removed because of all the people coming in from the park to use it in the library. I'm not saying it's going to happen again, but...
We have one on the outside too. There is a fountain on the outside. So.
Right. What I'm saying is, we have to find out what's in.
Okay, any questions for Denise? No? Okay, thank you, Denise. Okay, any reports from council? Okay, no reports. Committee chair reports, finance. Sue is out sick today, so Jim, could you help me out and give the finance report?
Okay, on finance motions, move to accept the resignation of Anthony Barbarino in the position of Public Works Superintendent effective May 7th, 2013, for action May 7th, 2013.
Okay, a motion has been made and seconded to accept the resignation of Anthony Barbarino from the position of Public Works Superintendent effective May 7th. Discussion on the motion? No discussion? All those in favor say aye. Nays? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Bronwyn. Councilwoman Coder.
Aye.
Councilwoman Hathaway. Councilman Hobley.
Nay.
Councilman CCA. Councilman Guzzi. President Morrison.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Move to recommend advertising to the Quaker Valley Council of Governments for the Business District Streetscape Design Project in the Citizen for CD 37-235.
Do we have a second? The motion has been made and seconded to recommend advertising to the Quaker Valley Governments for the Business District Streetscape Design Project in the Citizen for CD 37-2.2.5. Discussion on the motion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Nays? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Coder. Councilwoman Hathaway. Councilman Hobley.
Aye.
Councilman CCA.
Aye.
Councilman Guzzi. Councilwoman Bronwyn. Councilwoman Coder.
Is this the streetscape?
Yes.
Aye.
President Morrison. Motion carries.
Move to approve the contract extension with Public Partners of Pennsylvania for 60 days for interim management services for action 5/7.
Okay, a motion has been made and seconded to approve the contract extension with Public Partners of Pennsylvania for 60 Services. Discussion on the motion. Mark?
Does that mean if a new person takes over, it can stop short of that?
Our contract is that, if we don't need them, we can cancel it and not have any cancellation penalty. We did that. Okay, all those in, no other discussion, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Nays? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Rivera.
Aye.
Councilwoman Hathaway. Councilman Hopper.
Aye.
Councilman Sisiani.
Aye.
Councilman Susie.
Aye.
Councilwoman Brown. President Motion.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Move to recommend payment of the Quaker Valley Council government for the business district streetscape design project in the amount of $8,021 for CD 37-225, ration fund 14.
Does anybody have any questions concerning that particular motion? No, this is for the 14th. This is discussion.
I apologize.
Okay, no problem. No questions on that. The next one, please.
Move to approve the change order number 1 to civil and environmental consultants for the business district streetscape design project in the amount of $975 for CD-37-225, ration 514.
Any questions on that particular motion? How close are we to the final?
There will be a change order for the bump outs. The bump out issue that occurred last month's meeting. They're going to have to do some redesign of the final construction, of the final design and the construction documents. So I'm waiting to get a change order back from them, or process and what that will cost. And then I'll present that to council.
When are we going to have the final drawings due? Did they say?
Council would have to approve the second change order.
Okay.
And he said it was not going to take much time after that. When I spoke with the bond director today, he seemed to believe that even in June, if the bid documents were done, there would still be enough time to complete the project.
Any questions on this particular motion? Any questions for the finance committee?
Yeah, we had discussed about advertising for the DPW supervisor at the meeting.
That should be under DPW.
I didn't want to see it.
Well, I was authorized at the finance committee meeting to go ahead and advertise for it.
That's right.
It was, the ad was under $1,000, so I placed it. It ran this past Sunday's News Gazette, and it's running again tomorrow. It's also on monster.com, and essentially the most cost-efficient way to advertise was to direct everybody to the borough's website for a full description of the position, because it was just too costly to want, more detailed information.
How much did it cost?
$975.
Put it in the News Gazette. Any other questions?
The CDBG grant is due pretty soon, you said, right? And what are we doing for that? I never heard anything.
The COG puts in sort of a boilerplate template application for all of the communities in the COG for demolition. So you're covered on the demolition portion. You'll have to identify obviously properties, but not for the pre-application. And in terms of scope of work, an application for the streetscape or for the skate park, the county's already advised, and I think I sound like a broken record at this point, but until you finish your phases, the county's going to reject your applications. So they want you to finish out the current contracts that you have with them. So my suggestion would be to finish those out this year, and the next funding year apply.
Okay, any other? Thank you, Jim. And you're back anyway, because you're now the chair of Parks and Recreation, so.
Move to approve the installation of a water pump at the library for
Any questions or comments concerning the water fountain?
I have a comment. Why did we consider polar crystal water? We could move that anywhere in operation.
That they have, right, they have it in the office, but it's very expensive.
Waste.
In fact, we should have more fountains around. No other comments on that one? Okay, next one.
Move to approve the replacement of trees. The trees at Bain Park by Larry Miller at no cost to the borough for action 514. Comment.
Any questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
Where are these trees going? And this, I don't remember this coming through. Kathy, you were trying to.
Are you asking a question or do you have information?
George has an answer.
Well, I contacted him when he was asked for earlier so we could have a discussion on this as soon as possible, because after the committee meetings were over, Mr. Miller, who's a lifelong resident of the borough, called me up and he was telling me about the tree that is on the border of Bain Park and Tees Avenue that has either been removed or cut down. I think it rotted, was removed. The small stump is still there. And he wanted to know if it would be at all possible, since in the past he'd been granted permission by council to replace other trees that have rotted and died in the park, that if he could remove that piece of stump and put in either a maple or I believe he said a red oak, whatever council's choice would be, and he would do it on his own time.
George, didn't you do that a few years ago? You replaced 1 or 2 trees?
Yes.
Okay.
I think I would want to know more like, the roots, if they're shallow or deep, on the size, exactly where
It's a sapling right now, and it marries up with the other type of oak, maple, and chestnut trees we have in the park.
So it's just like the ones that are there.
He's done this before, and it's done in good taste. This is a reason we shouldn't have done it.
I don't want to know exactly where, so, when are we talking for this to get done?
After you vote on it,
After we
next week.
Okay, so he'll be removing the stump that's there too.
I don't think it's, entirely correct that it has to be done in a few days by any means.
I'd like to know specifically where he's going to put them. Just a little more
It's
information.
just one.
Oh, just one.
Right, it's going to replace the tree that is no longer existing on Tees Avenue side of the park. You can see the small stump where that tree had to be removed because it was rotted or diseased. So you have a stump about this high sticking up out of the ground.
How long?
Yes, he wants to remove that for this afternoon in the identical spot.
I have one more comment. We placed it into the budget, the funding for the fireworks for the 4th of July. I'd like to have this added on to our agenda for next week to approve it.
Up to, what was the amount of our contribution? $2,500.
That's a donation from the different boroughs and townships.
We can trade it out.
Okay, I just wasn't sure.
Yeah, we do this every year.
Or actually, no, 14.
Jane?
Yeah, while we're on that subject of trees in the park, did we get the tree violation, the free trees that we had applied for? So we didn't do that, free trees.
I talked to Brad, and he said the reason we didn't get it is we didn't follow their recommendations. So that's why we didn't get it.
What recommendations?
Well, they said that they would plant them later, remember, and they would take care of it, and we went ahead, bought the trees and planted them ourselves. And they didn't like the trees that we picked, and they had a plan for what kind of trees should want out there.
I didn't know that there was a specific plan. Was there a formal plan that we agreed upon?
That's what they
They
want.
had,
I know, but I don't think we agreed upon a plan.
they had a spot that they were supposed to put them in a different area. It had nothing to do with one hand, thing had nothing to do with the other. So, unless I see that from the tree violation.
tree vitalization, Tony, you want?
No. All I have is the letter. But they didn't specify.
Yeah, because I didn't believe that area, well, I never saw a plan, so.
Well,
Mark?
we didn't see a plan because we didn't allow them to. We didn't go that far. So that's just so you know.
But if we gave the plan to tree vitalize, then there would have been a plan. How can tree vitalize reject the plan?
We didn't agree to go with that. We didn't agree to go with that. We went and agreed to go with the ones, you agreed to go with the ones you did, and then there wasn't. So it's just that simple.
But there was a plan submitted to tree vitalize.
For a different location.
Okay,
Adding on to what, wasn't adding on to what you already did.
Okay, so we did something and they didn't like that. We did something.
Just comment, and it's not that they didn't like it, they're working, say, over Millville right down around their library and the little park that's there. They recommend a tree that would get healing there, the best type of tree to use. I think that's what is meant, and they recommend a tree if you say no, then it would be yank. They're doing this. Kathy, tell me if I'm wrong, is it 100 or 300,000 trees that are going to be planted in the western part of the state?
Okay, any other questions for Parks and Recreation? Patty?
When are we going to get cameras up at the park? And I don't know if this is more of a safety or a park. We had discussed it. I don't know how many of you have been up there, but I was up there and spent a couple hours the other day, and we really need cameras up there. But it's not the kids who are skateboarding, it's the people around it. There's a lot of trash up there now. And I talked to Matt about it, but we had talked about putting cameras up there, and I think that would really remedy the situation, and didn't know what our time frame was on that.
I don't know where we are in that process, so give Whitney time to look at that, because that was before Whitney's time. Yeah, I kind of forgot about that subject. Did we even vote on it?
It was never discussed as that.
Okay, we need to research that, so.
Yeah,
Just a joke.
Okay, so do we even have the budget, I wonder? We have to do more research on that, Mark.
Yeah, I just asked them to do it pretty soon. I know, because we had, as long as I've been here, we did talk, not recently, but a lot of times it never came through, so like, it's really a necessary item, so I hope we do get on it pretty quick.
Okay.
It actually did come through a few years back, even before I was on council. And unfortunately, when they did buy the cameras, they bought them for, they were not outside the cameras, so they used them inside the library.
Now, I thought we were talking about something exterior. Yeah. There was some down there.
They never got the right cameras.
Our campers were part of one of the phases I don't mean to forgive me, I'm not one person, but one of the phases of the skate park was supposed to have cameras included in it. Now, I don't know if that was approved, disapproved, whether we got that phase of funding, I have no idea. It was definitively part of that because on the initial talking about even putting the skate park in, when some of the young adults that came up here, that was part of the intricate part of that decision-making process.
Okay, we'll research that. Okay, any other questions for Parks and Recreation? Thank you, Jim. Public Works, Jim Escusi.
Okay, there's a motion. I move to approve the base bid and alternate 1, order 2, for paving and construction in the amount of $113,312.95 for the 2013 road paving program.
Okay.
Action for the 14th of May.
Any questions or comments concerning that, Mark?
Yeah. It's my fault. I have everything but the breakdown of which roads they are. I had it. I don't know why I don't have it. But also, I just want to mention, I never get a packet. Like, I don't know why, for a long time. So it's not before you. So just in case, I'd like to start getting one. But
That's because you have the
laptop,
computer,
but it never, it doesn't work. But it's not your fault at all whatsoever. I should have said something a long time. It's my fault. But anyway, can you just go down a list of what? Thank you. How do you expect me to work this?
Because you, no, it's already done, it's 1, 2, and 2 reading, and then so we would all know.
You want me to read it?
Yeah.
All right, yeah, I got it. Okay, I don't have my glasses, so I'm going to read this one.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Thank you.
You can make that.
I know. All that stuff.
Are you insinuating that he's a bad
All right, so the base bid is, well, wait a minute, I'm not, just let me bear with me for a second. Bear with me. This still doesn't tell me the, oh, I'm sorry, okay, the base bid is South Fremont, North Sprague, and West Avenue. Alternate number 1 consists of street drainage improvements for a portion of Gay Lane, and alternate number 2 consists of milling and repaving a section of Bellevue Memorial Park access driveways located in Rossland. So that is the whole road going all the way up to the parking lot, right? Okay. My only thought is that.
Is that all? Is that?
That's it, yes. So you want to read that?
So now
again?
your comments.
Yeah. My only comment is I'm just in favor of maybe leaving out West Avenue and trying to put something towards the parking lot if that even makes sense. But West Avenue isn't that bad at all if we wait another year. So I'm not sure of that on my part. I am sure that I would leave it out. I'm not sure that we would consider that. Yeah.
West Avenue was part of the base bid.
I can't hear you.
West Avenue was part of the base bid.
So you can't leave it out now?
No.
Okay.
Now, I'll tell you what we can do, is that once the contract is awarded, you can negotiate with the contractor changes. We have to award it based on what we bid.
Okay. Okay, well, then that saves me a lot of talking.
Oh, thank you, John.
But I do want us to think about that because that parking lot is so bad, it's so dangerous. If I know it needs a lot of planning, but I'm saying if we put something towards it, maybe that'll be towards the planning, or whatever it may be. So,
Whatever you want to do.
all right, thank you.
I think Jane is next.
Oh, no.
You're done? Okay, yeah.
Now, we had talked to Parks and Rec. Gay Lane is an alley in Bellevue, and there are a few houses there. And when you think of the money, I think it's 13. Is it 13,000 to do gay?
No,
So we're
Give or take.
so it's about 13,000 for a few houses, and I would rather see that go towards the parking lot. And I have a feeling if we start the precedent of paving alleys, that we're going to have to do it for everybody, because everybody who has an alley then is going to come and want us to pay or do something with their alley. So I am not in favor of the Gay Lane, just because I think it's setting a precedent.
Jane?
The precedent was set a long time ago. The borough of Bellevue is responsible for alleys, period. There are a lot of alleys that have been done over the last few years that were done by bond money, which we are still paying for. Gay Lane is not an alley. This is the people's main way in and out. This is how they get their packages delivered. This is how they get their mail delivered. So if their road is not up to standards, a mailman can actually say, I'm not going to deliver it no more because I can't get my truck up there. So this isn't just an alleyway for people like you might be thinking it's an alleyway. This is
Well, there's only people that use it, and tell me if I'm wrong, I was going to get to some pictures, because I went back there, the gentleman who lives back there, but the people who actually use this for a main thoroughfare to get to their homes, I think there's only 2 houses left there.
It's still their road.
But how many people use the parking lot at Memorial Park? Because you got to look at the...
Well, people use this every day in our lives. We use the parking lot once out of the year, and we are going to give up an opportunity to get a free parking lot if we pay for it.
But it's still for driveway, so.
We do the driveway, it helps open the door for the money from the town. That's what we were told, you put some money into the driveway, and you have a better chance of getting free money. That's why we decided to do the driveway.
Okay, but it's on the bid, so,
On that subject, I don't agree with the other, I just want to make a correction that alleys weren't paid with bond money.
14th.
Okay, any questions or comments concerning that? Okay. Special committee reports, any? Is that Bob?
No, it's a question. What's going on with CDAC? I haven't had any.
Well, at this point, I've suspended any meetings until we get a new borough manager. So that's where it is at this point in time.
What's the borough manager have to do with that committee?
Because I want to increase the committee and I want to get more people involved and it will take help, of which I don't have the capabilities of doing so. Our borough manager can do that and I would like his input, so. Jane?
Yeah, there was two things that should have been on public works that weren't. With the employees that are going to Avalon.
Do we have to approve that? That's
No,
training?
but it's-
Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, yes.
Is that for the pesticide or the,
Yeah, I asked her to give the council an FYI of which employees were going to go.
okay, for brush or something, what's that called?
I don't know the names yet, because I didn't have time to research their pesticide license expiration.
Okay.
Two employees that will be going to the non-tap workshop, that is being hosted by the Greater Valley Co-op. Two of them have pesticide application licenses, and the training is about roadside vegetation and control. So, knowing that there's two employees, the thought is instead of sending both of them and making the crew short, we would send the one whose license expires soonest to give them a refresher in the pesticide application training. So, and I just don't have, I didn't have time today, because it was sort of late in the day, to find out when their license expired. But I will have that meeting next week.
Okay. Anything else?
And the second one was the tractors. Okay.
Yes, I put a note on your desk
Yes.
for the, line items.
We're going to recommend, we had talked about the tractor from the works, and we had recommended, she didn't have any line items, to purchase the one, a line 43740, and to repair the other's motor, line item 43374 for action. The recommendation in the packets.
Okay, so we'll add those to the council, Jane, Kathy.
It wasn't in that packet, it was cheaper to buy these tractors than to repair this.
That's what we're doing.
That's what they're gonna do, okay.
Oh, you said you're repairing them.
No, we're repairing one. So
And you're buying them.
I'm sorry, Mayor, I didn't see it.
When we were talking about the two employees going for the training, was that for rodent control also? Forgive me, it was, somebody said vegetation, somebody said pests.
It's a roadside vegetation.
Roadside vegetation.
Yeah, which includes pesticide application. Although I think that your staff here probably have it because of the poll. I could be wrong, I'm kind of looking at John for support. But, okay.
You're not getting any.
I assume that they have that pesticide application license because of the quarry application. But at the same time, that license can be used to apply pesticides or roadside vegetation.
So it's free, and I think it's a good idea.
It's free, and they're very good trainings, they're very thorough.
Okay, we have two resolutions. The first resolution is for pool staff, and that will be authorizing and directing the hire of part-time pool staff, and we're going to have a list. Okay, we have a list of the pool staff.
It's attached to the new agenda.
Okay, okay. So we do have that list, and we will vote on that. Any questions or comments concerning pool staff? No questions or comments? Okay, DPW staff, the hiring of part-time public works staff. Do we have the names on that one? I know we have two, right?
Yes, both resolutions are there, attached to the new agenda as well.
Okay, questions or comments on that? Anything? Nope. Ordinances. The first one is the pawn shop ordinance. Any questions or comments concerning that?
No, I'd like to make a motion to do that after the meeting, instead of you bringing it on for next week.
Okay, you want to do that today? Second, to table that? We have a motion to table it, and a second discussion on the motion. We don't discuss it on the table. Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Nays? We don't need a, okay. Were there any nays? And then the large vehicle ordinance will be up for a first reading next week. Any questions or comments on that? Okay. The next one is the International Property Maintenance Code. Any questions or comments concerning that?
Are we going to look into the situation that she...
On section 6.
Yeah.
So we'll certainly.
You want to 4.3, right there.
Excuse me. You can talk again.
As I said, I would certainly look at section 6 and any references to the Constitution, or the U.S. and Pennsylvania Constitution.
Okay. We'll do that. Any other questions or comments concerning that? Okay. And then we also have added to this, what was it? The National Fire Code, and that was, what reading did I say that was? Second reading. Any questions or comments concerning that? Okay, and then there was that parking ordinance. Any questions? That was the second reading. Any questions concerning that? That's to reduce the fine to $25. Okay. And then the last one is the wage ordinance. Any questions or comments concerning that, Jane?
Yeah, it's reversed, it says 10%, it's actually 7, that should be 7, increase to 5, that's what it is. And I want to make a comment that it's not just the non-union employees, it's some of our higher paid employees that this affects, not just our...
Yes, our supervisors. Okay.
I'm sure that would be a problem.
Every time we spoke about contributions to healthcare, it was brought up that there's some of our lowest paid employees in the world that we're having to pay this amount, and it actually is some of our highest paid employees that we have to pay.
Would you say this
Supervisors.
is split equally, or
Huh?
the number of people, supervisors in office staff, is it split equally to high and low?
Well, you always kept saying it was always the lowest end of the pay. It's not true. It's everybody, some of our highest.
How many are there?
High paid employees. Okay,
That would be covered in this.
so I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay, Mayor?
How many employees are involved when
I think there's 6 or 7. Do you have that list? We don't have that list at this point. I think there are 6 or 7 employees, I think, that are involved with this. There aren't a lot. 7? You think? Okay. And of those, the supervisors are what, 3, 4? 4. So, mostly the supervisors.
If I may ask, who are the supervisors? Would be DPW?
Library.
Municipal manager, the code enforcement officer.
I'm sorry, say again, please.
Municipal manager, the code enforcement officer, public works supervisor, and now the library.
That's 4.
And then the chief of police.
That's right, 5. Okay, any questions or comments concerning that? Okay, no others? Okay. At this point, do we have any old business? Mark?
I just want to say on my own, I want to thank Tony for the great job he's done, because he's been the best that I've ever seen. And led this borough the right way and the men the right way, and done a terrific job. It's sad we're losing him. So thank you.
And I'd like to wish him the best of luck in his new job.
And I'll second that. Jim?
Yeah, Tony, I was with you for 8 years before, it's going into the second year now, and every time I call on you, you come up with answers from me, but the way you purchase the equipment, there's no second to no one. I'd like to say you added what, about 10,000 equipment to that we never paid for. And I want to comment on snow removal. We seconded that. Tony's guys get around 2-3 times a day, even more often than that. Tony, for myself, I thank you. I'm sure all the people will help with that.
Thanks.
Who's going to be our wing person now, since Tony's leaving?
We're going to be discussing that in executive session. Okay, any other old business? Any new business? Okay. Public contribution. Are there any visitors who wish to speak? If you can step up to the podium, state your name and address, and write it on the register. And you have 2 minutes at this time. Any visitors who wish to speak?
I heard you say everybody else is doing it. I give Bellevue permission to be unique. I give Bellevue permission not to rubber stamp or poorly drafted document. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other visitors who wish to speak? Okay, well, thank you for coming this evening. We are going to take a brief recess to have an executive session concerning personnel issues. And we will step out and then we will come back. And I don't know, I'm not sure if we will have to take any action at this point in time. So,
Are you hanging? Back.
okay, we have adjourned our executive session and no action has been taken. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. This motion